Well, you'll never believe it. The Trudeau Liberals have found yet another way of wrecking the country. Here's the headline: Feds won't fund new roads. Existing network perfectly adequate, Guilbeault says. That's Stephen Guilbeault. And he's the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, because of course Canada has a Minister of Climate Change. And by the way, this is actually him before he got into politics. Yep, that's really him. I mean, maybe we could scrap the Minister of Climate Change and instead have a Minister of, I don't know, Minister of Not Destroying Canada. But I'm sure that Trudeau would see that as counterproductive. So here's an article from the Toronto Sun. Climate Change Minister Stephen Guilbeault made an appearance at a fundraising luncheon in Montreal via video link as he touted public transit and criticized governments for expanding road networks. Quote, "Our government has made the decision to stop investing in new road infrastructure. Of course, we will continue to be there for cities, provinces, and territories to maintain the existing network, but there will be no more envelopes from the federal government to enlarge the road network. The analysis we have done is that the network is perfectly adequate to respond to the needs we have." So apparently he's not actually been on a road in Canada. But anyway, and thanks to a mix of investment in active and public transit, because really this is what it comes down to, they don't want you owning a car. They want you on a bus. And public transit is great. We should invest in that. But unless you're living downtown somewhere, it's not going to work for most people, especially people with families. But of course, Stephen Guilbeault, the apparently climate messiah, doesn't care about any of that. But he continues, and thanks to a mix of investment in active and public transit and in territorial planning and densification, we can very well achieve our goals of economic, social, and human development without more enlargement of the road network. And I guess the question is, whose goals are our goals? I kind of feel like they're just his goals, not so much our goals, as in the Canadian people. So Guilbeault also said that money spent on asphalt and concrete for road expansions would be better invested in projects that will help fight. Can ye guess? Can ye guess what it'll help fight? There's only one answer. There's only ever one answer: climate change. He also said we must stop thinking that electric cars will solve all of our problems. Yeah, of course, he loves electric cars. It's just that he'd prefer you don't have a car at all. He wants you all in a 15-minute city, all crammed into tiny little apartments. Don't forget, he just talked about densification. And what is that? Densification. It's an increase in the density of something. Synonyms: compaction, compression, concretion, type of concentration. Now, I wouldn't say concentration camp, more like concentration apartments, or even maybe pods. Yeah, if you're a young Canadian today wanting to start a family, say, you don't have to wonder at what the Trudeau government's plans are for you. It's not a nice little house with the white picket fence with the kids playing in the backyard with the dog. No, you're getting densified. And I'm guessing that Guilbeault does hope that you enjoy listening to your neighbors argue in their adjoining 600 square foot apartment. So here's something from Danielle Smith, the Premier of Alberta. She says, "So now our Environment Minister wants to cut federal funding for roads because we should all just walk more. Does this minister understand that most Canadians don't live in downtown Montreal? Most of us can't just head out the door in the snow and rain and just walk 10 kilometers to work each day. Can we return to the real world, Minister Guilbeault?" And of course, this does bring up the issue of Canada's housing crisis. And we keep hearing about all these houses that we're going to be building. Well, guess what? Guess what you need when you're building new housing? You need roads. Now let's hear from the minister himself.
What did you mean exactly when he said the government will not be funding roads?
That's not what I said.
Yes, it is.
Wait.
I can read it back to you.
What I have said is that the solutions to our transport challenge pass by many different things, including massive investment in public transit, including investment in electrification of transportation. And of course we're funding roads. We have programs to fund roads. What we have said, and maybe I should have been more specific in the past, is that we don't have funds for large projects.
So the minister has walked back his original statement, which was no funding for new roads, to no funding for large projects. And of course, I don't think anybody believes him. And in any case, Canada needs large projects too. You don't get to add millions and millions of people to Canada in a very short period of time without having your infrastructure stretched to the brink. That includes roads. That includes major roads. And as much as the eco-lunatic Stephen Guilbeault would prefer that we all just, I don't know, tear up the roads and have hiking trails, yeah, that's obviously not going to happen. All that's going to happen is that Canada is just going to get that much worse, which is what happens with every single thing this government does. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.